Hey, thanks for spending a few minutes with Phil. Yep, it's been a while. Let me share with you one of my favorite biblical scripture verses. Paul, that great apostle, wrote this to the church in Thessalonica. His first letter to them as canonized in scripture, and theologians and scholars of days gone by have done us a great big favor in breaking this letter into 5, count them, chapters and verse. Here's what Paul has to say to the fine folks in Thessalonica, recorded in the 4th chapter, verses 11 and 12. Paul says, you need to make it your ambition to lead a quiet life. Attend to your own business and work with your hands, just, Paul says, as we commanded you. And then in verse 12, Paul gives the why. He says, so you may behave properly toward outsiders and not be in any need. Let's break down and have a closer look at what Paul has to say. He says you need to try to lead a quiet life. That is, a life free from strife, a life free from unneeded controversy. You're not railing against your predicament or station in life. You're a person of peace. You keep the drama to a minimum. Paul goes on and says, attend to your own business. Don't be a busybody, not to gossip, not to insert yourself needlessly in other people's affairs. Concern yourself with what is yours, or better said, what God has put before you. Attend to your own side of the street. Concern yourself with your own garden. Paul goes on and says to work with your hands. There's something very healthy concerning physical labor. The writer of Ecclesiastes says this about work. He says in Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 18 through 20, even so, I noticed one thing at least that is good. It is good for people to eat, drink, and enjoy the work under the sun during the short life God has given them, and to accept their lot in life. And it is good to receive wealth from God and the good health to enjoy it. To enjoy your work and accept your lot in life. He repeats himself. This is indeed a gift from God. God keeps such people so busy enjoying life that they have no time to brood over the past. You notice he repeats himself, the writer of Ecclesiastes. He says to enjoy your work and to accept your lot in life. I do believe we live in a time that we see so many commercials and oh my golly, I must be missing something, and so I feel continually dissatisfied with my life. And frankly, sometimes you and I need to accept this is what God has given us to rejoice or enjoy it. And then Paul gives us 2 whys. That is, why should we? And those 2 whys, one is a testimonial and the second is practical. First, the testimonial. Paul says, so you may behave properly toward outsiders. Properly, correctly, appropriately, rightly toward outsiders. That is, conduct oneself properly as a representative or diplomat of Christ to those who are not in a relationship with Christ. Sometimes referred to as a testimony or evidence or demonstration or proof before man and woman that we do indeed follow Christ. And the second is more practical. So you may not be in any need. That is, you can pay your own bills. You can buy your own food and clothing. You can financially fend for yourself. I'm not saying you or I will never have a need for a helping hand, but as the regular course of life, you'll be okay. Maybe even have a little extra to help someone else from time to time. I love these verses. Good meat and potato stuff, wise counsel, and even a command from God via the scriptures. Thanks for spending a few minutes with Phil.